We assess that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential outcome this year. We have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter results. Fast forward to 2019, and Clapper was singing a different tune after then Attorney General Bill Barr said the Trump campaign was spied upon.
I thought it was both stunning and scary. I was amazed at that and rather disappointed that the Attorney General would say such a thing. He just has a feeling that there was spying against the campaign. We're losing sight here of what started all this, and that was the Russian meddling, the Russian interference in our election process. And the Russians pose a profound threat to this country.
So that's from no evidence to profound threat. That's quite a leap. And what about President Obama? A declassified document dated December 9th, 2016, reveals the intel community was working to produce a new assessment per Obama's request and seeking participation from the CIA, FBI, NSA, and DHS. Around that same time, here's what President Obama was saying publicly.
When I look back in terms of how we handled it, I think we handled it the way it should have been handled. Unless the American people genuinely think that the professionals in the CIA, the FBI, our entire intelligence infrastructure are less trustworthy than the Russians, then people should pay attention to what our intelligence agencies say.
As for anyone questioning why a new assessment was ordered, they were quickly silenced. This from a late December 2016. Quote, due to the ODNI whistleblowers questioning his leadership about why an IC assessment was being created that contradicted multiple IC assessments, the whistleblower is immediately removed from emails regarding the drafting of Obama-ordered IC assessment.
All right, guys, so we got to continue our coverage of the real collusion that happened in 2016, which apparently was between Obama, Hillary, and Soros to try to affect the outcome of the election by telling people that Russia and Trump were working together in order to affect the outcome of the election. Okay, the Russia collusion hoax apparently was a brainchild of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Obama knew about it. His intelligence community knew about it. They chose not to investigate it. In fact, they chose to investigate Trump over Hillary, despite knowing there was a good possibility that the Russia collusion allegations actually came from Hillary, okay, and that they used bogus evidence in order to go after Trump when there was stronger evidence to go after Hillary Clinton and some of the claims that she was making, okay? And in my opinion, again, I believe that there was collusion when it comes to weaponizing the government to help Hillary Clinton, or to try to help Hillary Clinton win the 2016 election and to smear President Trump. That is what I personally believe happened, okay? Because we know damn well at this point that the Russian attempts to hack the 2016 election were a joke, right? That they did not affect the outcome of the election, despite the fact that Democrats ran around claiming that President Trump is illegitimately elected and that Putin is the reason why he's in office and yada, 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 yada. We all know that, again, Russia basically had no effect on the outcome of the 2016 election.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts. And it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community. And the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened.
Joining me now to dig further into this is CEO of the Federalist, Sean Davis. Great to see you, Sean. So no fuzz about it.
Yeah, it turns out there was a lot of fuzz about it. And it's fascinating what we're learning, 8 years later. That by itself is a scandal, that it took 8 years for us to learn this information, that there was actually a great deal of debate within the so-called intel community about the nature of the Russian threat. We now know that there was a lot of doubt about this idea that Russia was desperately trying to help Trump to win, that it was this some sort of profound technological effort. Based on what we know, based on the intel community's own words, there were no real cyber attacks to change votes or go after infrastructure. And we also know that the extent of their technological chicanery and shenanigans came down to some Facebook ads and some Twitter memes.
Right.
And so it's just fascinating looking back in hindsight and seeing the efforts that these people, Comey and Brennan and Clapper, these corrupt people, the efforts they went to delegitimize Trump's victory, number one. That was the first goal. And then the second goal was to cripple his administration and cripple his presidency. That's the scandal here.
Yeah, and again, government resources were weaponized in order to do it, okay? Because, again, Obama was told in July of 2016, late July, that, hey, this whole Russia collusion thing possibly came from Hillary. But instead, they decided to investigate Trump instead of Hillary, right? To see if, okay, what if Hillary is making this up? Maybe this is actually coming from her, okay, rather than Trump actually colluding with Russia. This is why they never actually found a direct connection between President Trump and Putin, because there was no collusion, right? But again, I think there was collusion between Hillary, between Obama, between Soros in order to try to rig the outcome of the 2016 election against President Trump, okay? That's what I think the real collusion happened, okay? And if that is the case, then certainly that warrants criminal charges. And that could be why we're seeing the DOJ launching a grand jury investigation into the Russiagate conspiracy allegation. So, looks like we're getting some action here on this front, okay? It's a very, very, very small step, but it is a step in a direction of maybe, just maybe, we get some justice on this. I wouldn't get my hopes up, but I'm just saying that a grand jury investigation is the very beginning of this, right? If we're going to see some fireworks, you got to have the grand jury investigation first, and that's what we're getting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
We start today's show with some big breaking news, and we're going to go straight to Fox News correspondent David Spunt for the details. David.
Well, Will, good to be with you. This is coming out of the Justice Department. Fox News can confirm that Attorney General Pam Bondi today signed an order directing an unnamed U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury relating to an alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 candidate Donald Trump to the country of Russia. Now, Fox News reviewed the one-page order just hours ago signed by the Attorney General. A source familiar with the probe confirms this as well, while a DOJ spokesperson declined to comment on this report of an investigation. Fox is told Attorney General Bondi is taking the referrals from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The spokesperson says that Bondi believes there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern, end quote, and a need for the next steps. Now, this move, Will, comes just a couple of weeks after the Director of National Intelligence, you see her right there, Tulsi Gabbard, sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department regarding what she says proves there was a conspiracy to undermine Trump's candidacy and later his first term in office. Now, to be clear today, there are no charges that have been filed, no indictments. This is incredibly early in the process. What we have here is taking evidence the Justice Department believes it has to a grand jury to secure an eventual indictment or indictments. We don't know exactly where the grand jury will meet. We don't know who will go before the grand jury, and that's by design, because grand juries determine if there's enough evidence to indict, and grand juries are secretive in the American legal system, so it's normal not to know all of the answers. Again, the DOJ declining on any comment regarding this investigation. But, Will, big news, this was signed by the Attorney General Pam Bondi today to take this evidence of an alleged conspiracy to a grand jury with the hope to get an indictment or multiple indictments.
Wow. 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 Again, I wouldn't hold my breath, but at the same time, I will say this. They could have just kind of did nothing, right? They could have just made a big stink out of this and did nothing at all, right? Kind of let it blow over, move on to the next thing, because that's usually how the news cycle works. But the fact that they actually are submitting this evidence to a grand jury means that they have good reason to believe that they may be able to get some indictments and some charges. And I'm hoping that they do, to be honest with you. I really am. I mean, they might not get Obama, but they might get James Clapper. They might get Comey. Who knows? They might get some Hillary folks. If not Hillary Clinton, I don't know. But I'm just saying that, again, to me, what I am seeing signals, again, a conspiracy that government resources were weaponized in order to try to rig the outcome of the 2016 election. And yeah, I think at the very least, it warrants further investigation. I can imagine that they're probably going to show the grand jury evidence that the public has not seen yet, that they believe could be enough to get an indictment, because otherwise, I don't know if they would be going to a grand jury, right? Because, I mean, a grand jury coming back and saying, okay, no, we're going to refuse to indict anybody, that will essentially shut down a lot of this, right? So I'm hoping that they're not doing it without the proper evidence, or at least being somewhat confident that they can get an indictment, right? Because, again, if the grand jury comes back and they say, no, we're not indicting anybody, then this is dead, right? Like, this is a dead conversation, right? This is done, right? But hey, you know, since they are taking it to a grand jury, again, this means that they're not necessarily playing games, that they're actually really trying to hold people accountable. So we're going to see. At this point, it's just about, do they have enough evidence to warrant an indictment?
Well,
that is big news, David, and congratulations to you. Excellent reporting on being first on this order signed today by Attorney General Pam Bondi. I understand it is a one-page order, which you have been able to review. Fox News has been able to review. I'm afraid I'm going to ask you some questions that need to be asked, but we won't yet know the answer. So let's start with the one that everyone watching at home is interested in. Who or what names might be the target of this grand jury?
Well, that's a great point. We don't know. We know that Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, has mentioned the names John Brennan, the former CIA director, James Clapper, who had the job before her. But I want to be very clear on the air. We don't know if their names are going before the grand jury. For anybody that has, talked about former President Barack Obama seeing charges, we're told by multiple law enforcement sources that's not going to happen because of the immunity that he enjoys as a former president, because of the Supreme Court decision last year that came to actually benefit current President Trump. So while we don't know the names, we know that those are possible names, and we know the Justice Department is serious enough and believes that it has enough evidence to take this to a grand jury. If I may just add in here, a few weeks ago, the Attorney General announced a strike force to go through some of these documents, and within a couple of weeks, feels that she has enough evidence to go forward to this grand jury. So it directs an unnamed federal prosecutor to take this evidence to a grand jury, but the name of that federal prosecutor not clear at this moment.
Yeah, like I said, the fact that they're actually taking it to a grand jury means that it's not one of those things where they're just trying to lead people on, right? They actually do believe they have enough evidence to charge or to indict individuals, Obama administration officials, maybe other people as well too. And that's why you're saying what you're saying. So again, this is not a joke. This is not play. Like, this is a serious thing.
Okay, just a couple more quick questions, David.
Sure.
Sorry to push the limits of your knowledge, but I want to make sure that we address all the things that are not only in your report, but in everyone's mind as well. The name, as well, in addition to Clapper and Brennan, that people will be wondering about will be Hillary Clinton. I understand we do not yet have those names. We'll be waiting to hear what names are in that referral to a grand jury. The next thing everyone will want to know, David, is what are the potential charges?
Well, the potential charges, and I want to use the word potential, would be lying to a federal official, which is a felony to do so. If you lie to an FBI agent or you lie to another federal official, there could be charges involved with there, and I'm told those could be the most likely. That's something that we saw in the John Durham investigation. He was the former special counsel that was appointed by then Attorney General Bill Barr, and those are the types of charges that he used in his cases. He actually lost both times in court, but he did secure a plea deal with a former FBI attorney for falsifying a document. So those seem to be, or that seems to be, when I say those, I should say that because that's just one charge, but that's the charge in talking to sources that people have been eyeing for weeks. But this letter, this initial letter, signed by the Attorney General that we reviewed does not say anything about specific charges. It just directs an unnamed prosecutor, hey, you have jurisdiction that's out of your normal jurisdiction. You can go anywhere in the United States and you could bring this evidence before a grand jury.
And yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. If they secure an indictment or a charge, that will be big news, okay? The mainstream liberal media, Democrats, they're going to lose their minds. They're going to absolutely lose their minds, okay? But we're going to see. Again, I won't get my hopes up, right, too much, okay? But the fact that this is happening is a sign that, again, this is a serious investigation, that they believe they actually really have the evidence to back up what they're saying, right, the things they're talking about. And we're going to see, okay? Again, from my perspective, I believe that there's strong reason to believe that there was collusion between Obama, Hillary, the Soros team, and that a lot of this Russia stuff was a political concoction from the Democrats and Hillary in order to try to sway the outcome of the 2016 election and then to later try to delegitimize President Trump's presidency. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.